Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But it does bring to light, and it was interesting to see I won't even say the juxtaposition, but the very fascinating overlap of timing. Because the other major news that we had last week was the fact that President Trump made a big to do about bringing a very interesting cohort of folks, I think, Sam
Hmm.
Altman, Larry Ellison, and Son from, I forget his
Masa
name. I can
Son, yeah.
Thank you. From SoftBank to announce what they are calling Stargate, because of course we need to have some big futuristic name for this.
Hmm.
Announcing supposedly a $500 billion investment in data centers, claiming 100 billion quote unquote immediately, and then of course Elon Musk went up and said they only have 10 billion, and Altman says no, that's not true, and off it went. But it was interesting because the ostensible reason for this announcement was exactly what happened, right? Is to lay the groundwork to build the infrastructure, the massive infrastructure necessary, so that American AI companies could stay ahead of the Chinese. And then 2 days later, of course, we get the DeepSeek announcement, which is
Hmm.
kind of ironic. So I definitely have my opinion on Stargate. What was your take on this announcement?
Yeah, first of all, there's the funny political back and forth of this, which is that when Trump announced Sam Altman, he literally announced him as I would say by far the leading expert based on technology, Sam Altman. And he's got Elon Musk, who just gave him $250 million politically. Um, you know, off to the side, not at this AI announcement. So that's just kind of, you know, interesting from a kind of a political fun watching perspective. But I think the more meaningful piece of this story is that when you're talking about OpenAI, OpenAI, it doesn't have $100 billion to put into this commitment, but they do have a lot of partners who are willing to put money into the game and skin into the game. So, for instance, when that commitment's made, people who weren't on stage included Satya Nadella of Microsoft. Microsoft has $40 billion included as part of this 500 billion investment. There's a lot of double counting and overlaps, and if you count up all the commitments here, you probably have trillions of dollars of commitments just because a lot of them are double and triple counted. But that said, OpenAI definitely needs to raise a lot more money or get a lot more partners to totally fit its $100 billion commitment in here. And then I do find it interesting that Larry Ellison is brought up here as one of the key AI executives for America, given that a couple years ago we were wondering whether Oracle was really still in the game from a tech perspective. Um, not that their tech has completely changed in the past couple of years, but all of a sudden Oracle Cloud seems a much bigger player than it did.
Well, only in the eyes of President Trump, I guess. I mean, it was hilarious. But both of those, I mean, the shocking absence of Elon Musk, given that he does have XAI and clearly is a major player. And then on the other hand, you have Larry Ellison, and Oracle's obviously dabbling in their playing. They've got their foot in this race, I guess. But
And they might
clearly,
buy
when
TikTok.
Oh yeah, okay, great. But we never talk about them as a major player when we're talking about the different AI models and all of those elements of it. So I thought, this stank of just political opportunism, and clearly Ellison has been a big Trump supporter, and so that was why, which again makes Elon Musk's absence even more baffling. So the whole
Hmm.
thing was just bizarre. But brushing aside all the politics of it, what I found so disingenuous about this is that virtually all of this was already happening. This is just puffery around announcements and investments that people have already said. I mean, Satya Nadella was asked about it, and he says, "Well, I don't know. I mean, I have my 80 billion in because Microsoft has already pledged to put, depending on who you ask or how they count it, I guess between 40 and 80
Hmm.
billion dollars into building these data centers." So there's really, I don't know what this really meant, other than perhaps Trump making a little bit of clearance for some of the energy regulations so that they can get power built, which is one of the big roadblocks for that. So that part is the only real meaningful part of it. But, I guess to the broader investment world that maybe doesn't understand all of this or isn't following it like we do, they thought that this was like this big thing that we were doing, and I'm sure that was the intent. But yeah, I this one was like I had me rolling my eyes because it was just there's so little there on this one.
Well, there's no, yeah, it's all private money. It's not government money. It's not the government committing $500 billion to AI infrastructure by any means. Yeah, and so we're going to see a lot of this over the next few years. Trump is definitely good at doing press releases and bringing a lot of people up on stage.
I think the winner on this is actually Sam Altman. I mean, one of the things that I think we talked about, if we didn't talk about last week, I know that I had it in some of my stuff, but OpenAI has massively increased their spend on lobbying over the last year. He made a massive push of sort of befriending and being seen as a player with the all the incoming members of the Trump
Mhm.
administration. And I think clearly this was a win, right? That he
Yeah,
was on stage. Amongst with notable competitors or competitors notably missing out there. So I think that part was this was the lobbying money paid off well. The big question will be is it doing anything? And actually then the bigger question is, does this DeepSeek announcement, particularly to the degree that it's true, deflate this, right? Cause people then to go, well, why are we investing $500 billion if we only need $6 million to build a big giant ass model like that?
right. But
So
I would guess that these data centers are being uh, treated as ongoing infrastructure, and who knows how long it will take to actually build these data centers. This could be a 5-year, 10-year
oh
commitment
yeah. Yeah,
to get
exactly.
there. Yeah,
And as we talked about, the real issue is the inference anyway, and those inference costs are still necessary. So I think we're still going to need these data centers. I do think this may be an overinvestment because I do think we're going to, whether it's through with what DeepSeek is doing or not, eventually we do know that we're going to see a compression in those costs and the compression in those efforts, including the inference, and that's just going to over time reduce the need for it. So